Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Football National Championship Game Preview Show with the Saturday College Football Kickoff Show crew together one last time. Minus, unfortunately, DJ Big Boss couldn't make it today, but you still got me, your host Ian Cameron, Conor Mac, my right-hand man, and Big Ragoo with us as well, ready to talk Georgia, Alabama, National Championship game. Part of me as a fan was hoping one of Michigan or Cincinnati would upset the apple cart a little bit. Maybe we see something a little bit different in the national title game. But the good news is with Georgia and Alabama getting here, let's be honest, the two best teams in college football, probably start to finish, were these two teams. So it's only right that they are meeting for the national championship here in this game. Let's get into it. We're going to talk side total. I've got a few props that I like in this game as well, and we'll break it down. We've got right now the current line has Georgia in that 2.5 point favorite range, threes at some spots. So just make sure you shop around. If you like either side, find a 3 with Alabama. If you like the Crimson Tide, find a 2.5 with Georgia. If you like the Bulldogs, 52.5 being the total in this game. When you look at this matchup, this is obviously the narrative is going to be Georgia can't beat Alabama. Kirby Smart can't beat Nick Saban, and it's certainly proven that way in the past. We enter this national championship game with Alabama having won 7 straight games against Georgia since 2008, including one of those being a national championship game 4 years ago. We remember that one. I think it was Jake Fromm and Tua Tagovailoa that year battling it out for the national title, and Alabama came back and won in overtime. Georgia's blown multiple leads in some of these games against Alabama, but they have just had a tough time winning against Georgia over the years. Georgia's had a tough time winning against Alabama over the years. This is going to be an interesting matchup. You've got to think that from a adjustment standpoint, we know what Alabama did in the SEC title game against Georgia. The passing game was what really shredded the Georgia defense. The secondary couldn't match up with the speed of the Alabama receivers down the field. This game is going to be a little bit different, though, in that John Mechie will not suit up, obviously, out for the season for Alabama. So that's going to put more onus on Jamison Williams, Slade Bolden, and some of the other receivers to step up here for Alabama in this game. And I was talking in our little Twitter DM earlier, and this was some of the material that I was preparing here for the show. Georgia's the healthier team coming into this game. Of course, injury reports, you want to keep an eye on those all the time. I think Georgia definitely is going to be the healthier squad. Alabama does have some significant concerns in a couple of key areas. They do have some cluster injuries along the offensive line going into this game. That's going to be interesting to see if they can get as many of their 5 starters out there on that unit. A couple of them banged up, questionable for this game. And their secondary is very much problematic in terms of health going into this game. Josh Jobe broke his foot in the SEC title game, and he is definitely going to be out for this game. And then you've got Jalen Armour-Davis, who's a really good corner, the other starting corner. He did play in the SEC title game and the last game, but he's been battling a hip injury, and it's apparently causing him significant pain. And if he does play tonight, he's listed as questionable. Will he be 100%? So that Alabama secondary is ailing a little bit. And if I'm Kirby Smart in Georgia, look, Alabama's going to think, what? I'm going to run the football a lot because that's what we prefer to do with Zamir White, James Cook, our 2 great running backs. But if I'm Kirby Smart tonight and I'm thinking outside the box, this is a national title game. You've got to try to do things and run plays in a game like this that your opponent isn't expecting, all right, in a game like this. And I don't think what Alabama is expecting is maybe Georgia to throw the ball on first down and second down tonight. They're probably going to expect a run-heavy approach. If I'm ever going to go with a pass-heavy approach, it's tonight, because I think the Alabama secondary might be ripe for the picking. The problem with Kirby Smart doing that, guys, is you got to put your eggs in the basket of Stetson Bennett. And we know he's not always been the kind of quarterback that can make those accurate pinpoint throws, make the best decisions, especially when he's playing a better team and a better defense. But man, if Stetson Bennett can avoid those critical mistakes, and if they, I think, throw the ball on early downs and maybe take that Alabama defense by surprise, I think there could be some plays to be made for Bennett in the passing game here tonight. So that's what I would do. You got to be a little bit outside the box. critical thinking, aggressive, do things a little bit differently that, again, Alabama may not expect. That's what I would do here in this game. Of course, when you look at Alabama, they ran the football down Cincinnati's throat, and a lot of their yards came on the ground against the Bearcats. It's not going to be as easy to do that against the Bulldogs in this game. So to sum it up for me, I'm making a slightly stronger case in this game for Georgia, and it bothers me that Nick Saban always beats Georgia. That Nick Saban in Alabama as an underdog has always been a good bet, and I'm kind of going against the grain there with that. But I do think with Georgia, with the adjustments they make, and let's not totally rule out the fact that the SEC title game probably meant more to Alabama. That was a win and save your season type of spot for Alabama. They had to win that SEC title game to get in the playoff, not so much for Georgia. So I'm going to go with Georgia. It's nothing strong. It's nothing, it's not a huge play for me, but I like Georgia, and I'm going to go minus 135 on the money line. And I'm also going to look at the over here in this game at 52.5, simply because series history has dictated that. We've seen 41-24, 41-24, and 35-28 in the last three head-to-head meetings, Alabama, Georgia. And there's still enough speed on the field. These are two respected defenses. And you can't argue the fact, too, 6 straight national championship games you guys have gone over the total. 6 straight coming into this national championship game this year. So I'm going to go with over 52.5 as well. I'll just leave it at that for now with the side and the total. We'll get into props later in the show. Conor Mac, let's turn it to you. What do you think, and how do you think it unfolds tonight?
Shout out to everyone in the chat. If you can, give us a thumbs up, hit the bell, hit the whistle, all the good shit that I always tell you to hit. Go in to Twitter too. Give us a retweet. Tell everybody we're talking national championship and rematch. How can you not be excited about this? We'll get into all the props later. That's good to talk about. And I got to give a shout out to DJ Big Boss. He couldn't be with us here. He's up in the chat. What's up, my guy? Wish you were here. What up, though? As he would say. Real quick. Yeah, I mean, but Bano, sometimes you just, in a game like this, you kind of you've gone through it all. The whole Kirby Smart, he can't beat Nick Saban. One thing was Georgia all year was able to stop people. That defense has just been phenomenal. But that secondary, they got no pressure on Bryce Young. He just stood back there and chucked it all day long. Like, they didn't touch him. I don't think he was even – I mean, the hurries, pressures, whatever, there was no sack. There was none of that shit either. They've got to bring something different, and I think they will. And same thing with Georgia offensively. I think they did all right against Bama. Those 2 picks were big. There's obviously going to be something like happens here with between these 2 teams, especially these defenses today. Stetson Bennett, I mean, he threw for 340. People thought maybe that was a lot in junk time with the 3 TDs, 2 picks. He's got to step up and have a big game. Kind of the bottom line, though, for just talking total insides. Early on, I'd look under in this game. The whole thing, remember the first meeting? Let's look at the first quarter. 3-0 Georgia. We'll kind of get into the props. I think worth maybe a play and taking a play, field goal early, feeling out, and someone gets a stop and there's a field goal. That's plus money. We'll talk about in the props real quick. Second quarter just exploded. Alabama scored 24. Georgia scored 14. And then second half slowed down, but 41-24. But you talked about it, 6 in a row overs, as the game goes on. It's in Indy, right? Indoors. These championship games always seem on these turfs that they seem to get over, especially lately. Yeah, they just seem to get over the total. As much as I like these defenses all year and was on Georgia unders, right, Ragoo? I don't know if this one can stay under. We'll see if the defenses come to play, how much there's a chess match going on here. Can Kirby Smart, get over the hump and beat Saban? It's just, and then there's this thing. Saban's a dog. How can you not take it? You have the Heisman Trophy winner, the better quarterback, and you're getting him 3 points. Or just take a money line if you just think him to flat out win. So it's Bama or nothing on the side for me. And like I said, I look early, maybe under, but 52.5 is pretty low. Obviously, 52's key number a bit, but I think somehow it gets over as well, as much as I think this game could stay under. I think that they just know how to pass on each other so well. They just know how to every time they've met the last 4 times, deep passes, just huge plays. So it seems like when these teams, especially Georgia and Bama, for the most part, when they play anybody else in the SEC, they stop everybody. These two teams get together, points fly. These athletes just can do what they can. You talked about Michi being out. We'll get into some of the other stuff in the props. I'm going to look throw some props out and play in this game. But yeah, to me, it's Bama. Just Bama. Yeah, shop around. There's threes at minus 115. There's other threes even minus 110, a few, and then there's 2.5s, mostly everywhere else. But Superbook has a 3, Caesars, even William Hill Square Book here has a 3 I see right now, minus 115. So if you want to take the 3, take it. If not, just take Bama with money line. I think they can win it.
All right, so Alabama for Conor Mac, but he does agree with the over for as I do with the total in this game. It's when I look at it too with the total, I mean it's not only 6 straight national title games that have gone over. It's not just that these two teams, when they've gone head to head, have gone over. If you look at this season, and look, Georgia was an under machine this year. There's no question about that. When you look at not a machine, they actually were only 8-6 to the under, but still a lot of their SEC conference games went under. But the games that went over were the Alabama game and the SEC title game in Tennessee. And the similarity is for Georgia against those teams, there was speed on the field. There was playmaking. There was big explosiveness in both offenses. Tennessee had an explosive offense, a big play offense, where 20-plus yard plays, they could get those chunk plays. So could Alabama. And those were the 2 games in SEC play where Georgia games went over the total. And Georgia kind of struggled a little bit defensively with that a little bit. And on the flip side, you look at Alabama, their overs, the Georgia game, also Tennessee, Arkansas as well, which had a capable offense this year. So it's the unders with these teams, like Alabama's game with the Mississippi State went under, with Cincinnati went under, and that's more of a defensive-minded team. As for Georgia, Georgia Tech went under. They couldn't score. Same with Michigan. Missouri, that offense was going to struggle against Georgia. The Florida game went under. Florida's offense was nothing special this year. Same with Kentucky, a little bit of a weaker, less explosive offense, slower pace team. That's why I think there's a case for the over, because a lot of those unders were weaker offenses, less explosiveness, and they don't exactly play fast.
Can Georgia stop the speed? If they can make these plays and step up and get heat on Young and do that, this game will stay under, and it could be a defensive battle. But I just don't know if it can do it. I don't know if it can happen.
And it just seems
go ahead, Ragoo.
And it just always seems there's a defensive player too as well in a game like this. That's something to keep in mind as well. And plus, you were talking about national title game. Why do the games go over 6 straight like they have? Teams never give up. Team that's trailing is going to try to score touchdowns in the fourth quarter. If they're down 10 or 14 or 17 points, whatever the case. All right, Big Ragoo, let's get your thoughts here. Georgia, Alabama.
Man, it's a lot to think about, but you got a lot of time to sit back and pick this game apart, especially after the SEC championship game. And then that could be a game, where Alabama, even though they're not gonna play coy to a team like Cincinnati, who was tremendous all season long, but I truly don't believe they showed all their cards, because I think they knew early on they had that game handily, and they not that they held back, but they didn't leave it all on the field in that game. They had to leave it all on the field when they played the first go around with Georgia, the first get out. But I mean, just there's so many friggin' angles you could toss at this game here. Mm-hmm. I mean, the big one, of course, is Saban, being 25-1 against all his former assistants, and especially Kirby. I brought it up in yesterday's show. This is the fifth time they're going at it against Kirby, and the 5th time he went at Jimbo took him out. So, in an overtime nail biter. But I don't think we'll see that in this particular game. We know Bama has been known to start out slow against Georgia, made the adjustments. I think we have a better second half coach, and we got the greatest coach of all time in college football on the sidelines. So it's not going to be as matter of not even to doubt the guy's coaching aspect of the game, because that's a given for Saban. We just have to has Kirby caught up enough to Saban to get his game in order to beat him finally. So, and that Georgia has caught up in the recruiting classes. They've done very well there. There's no question about talent. We know about the defense that they put on the field game in, game out. And it's like Conor said, when they play anybody but Bama, even some teams that have crept over in the double digits in the SEC, they've been low double-digit numbers. So, but Bama is one of those teams that just has, I'm not going to say has Georgia's number, but seems to rise to the occasion every time they play Georgia in this spot. Connor brought up a great point about, not getting the pass rush to Young. He threw for well over 400 yards that game, as did, Bennett had a good game too. But, I mean, not one sack. Here's an elite defense. All of a sudden they play Bama and they can't get any pressure to the quarterback. If that happens today, I mean, tonight, it's going to be lights out for Georgia again. Just they got to show a way to bring pressure. I mean, we know that Bama's offensive line's a little nicked up.
Yeah.
It's always next up for them, but they're going to have to bring pressure here. And I think the key to Georgia scoring on the other side of the ball is to kind of go at it, like Ian is saying, you're going to have to push the ball down the field, but you're going to have to do it in a way where you're going to have to set it up with the run a little bit, because I think the middle linebacking play for Alabama is superb. So they're going to have to support that front line, the defensive line, and they're going to have to be dropping back in zone and coming up, making blitzes and dropping back out, helping out with the pass. But I think Cook is going to be a valuable player for them to kind of come out of the backfield and maybe, tie up some of the linebackers, and then, Georgia's going to have to put the ball down the field a little bit. So there's a lot of moving pieces, obviously. There's going to be a lot of different plays that are going to set up for both teams defensively. And I think we'll see some points without a doubt. I think more so in the second half than the first half. So I would lean maybe towards a first half under. And I think Georgia's going to score first. I really do. Just something's telling me they will. But the outcome of the game for me, hey, man, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And until that happens, I got to roll with the Tide, on the money line. Plus, I've seen spots like 120, 125. My locals got 125. That's an official play for me. Bama plus 125.
There you go, Bama plus 125, and this is one of those games where if the people that like Alabama, it's hard to argue. I mean, it is. I mean, even though I'm going with Georgia here, it's hard to argue. I mean, the dominance has been there. They've won every meeting recently. They've had the upper hand in all of these games. This is really going to be a fascinating. Early in the game, I'm fascinated to see if Smart does what I hope he does, and that's let Bennett throw the ball on first down. Let him do it. Don't be predictable, man. Don't do that. Don't be handed off on first down every single time in a game.
Yeah, Ian, real quick. Both the success of these teams, and it was in the last game, I think they found that out early. Both defenses were shutting down the run, but they couldn't stop the pass. So they just opened it up, and all of a sudden you just started seeing playmaking everywhere, passes. So I think that's going to be similar. Both secondaries are a little bit leaky here, and that's like we saw in that first matchup could happen again.
Yeah, they're gonna have to bring pressure to stop the pass too. So that's where it's at. They're gonna set up for the run first, no doubt. And they're just gonna have to, I think, some gimmick plays early on, not to make the big mistake, but there's always that gotcha moment in the game where the game takes a turn, and whether it comes, it's probably gonna come a little later than early, because they're gonna be tentative and not want to make the big play, the big mistake type of thing, or the trick play, so to speak. But I think there'll be some zone opportunities for both defenses to kind of give up yards early on. But I think, they don't punch it in the end, a lot of points early. But I just think, Georgia probably will move the ball a little bit earlier than Bama will. But, like Saban will make the adjustments later on, and that'll be it.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's going to be one thing I want to see.
It's not that easy, but that's the outcome for me anyways.
With Alabama a little bit nicked up on the offensive line, the one thing Smart did in the SEC title game is he thought for sure with his vaunted defensive front, he would be able to get pressure and a pass rush with four guys. It didn't happen, though. It was shocking to see. It just didn't happen in that game. Will there be disguised blitzes? Will there be, we look like we're dropping back in coverage and then we blitz instead? There's going to be some of these adjustments. Let's hope he makes them. This is supposed to be a defensive-minded and a pretty good one in Kirby Smart to say maybe we do disguised blitzes, maybe we bring an extra blitzer, maybe bring a safety, a couple of times to get extra pressure on Bryce Young tonight. But obviously it didn't work. Just thinking our four guys up front can get after Young, because it did not happen in the SEC title game. So he's either going to have faith that they play better, those four, or you're going to have to do something different schematically, bring an extra player on a pass rush or something like that, disguise a little bit more. Something like that is going to, and those are some of those adjustments I'm hoping Georgia makes, because that's the one thing in a game like this. Alabama won that game convincingly. They're going to feel like everything we did worked. Let's just stick with what worked. Whereas Georgia's working overtime and staying up late and overnight. It's not that Saban isn't, but Smart's really, going to the war here and to the wall, trying to figure out things that didn't work the first time that might work this time around.
real quick, Ian. And another key is, Georgia to win this game, they got to win it by more than a field goal. I mean, that's why everyone's like, this seems such a trap line. I've heard it all week, and this is the 2.5s. I mean, Georgia's got to win by more than 3, basically, that's why you have the better quarterback and the better coach. How about Bama last time these teams played? Georgia jumped out, what was that, 24-0, whatever it was, first half. Tua comes in. I mean, Saban, the best guy at halftime, making adjustments. So even if Bama's down a little bit, don't count them out. They came back, won that national championship, like you were talking about 4 years ago. So even if Georgia wins, I think it's close. So,
what do you think about the? We don't think of as Bama as a hurry up type offense, but if you go back and look at their play log, they're close to 80 plays a game.
They're pretty quick.
They play
way more than Georgia.
I mean, that doesn't get talked about a lot in the cap, but and Georgia's running about 60, middle 60, so that could be something that Saban, uses early on maybe to kind of offset the defense a little bit, to help his offensive line out with quick plays. But I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, and especially the offensive line, like I say, could be 2 starters, either 2 starters questionable. Like this is probably going to go right up. There's no sense checking now. Right. We're not going to know for sure until, and you'll see it. There's going to be an extended pregame show on ESPN for this game, like there always is for the national title game. You see the warm-ups on the field. They always show the warm-ups extensively on the field about half an hour before the game. That's when you're going to know who's in on that offensive line. Same with the secondary for Alabama. Those are the key position groups for Alabama from an injury standpoint, offensive line and secondary.
And Mechie being out.
And Mechie, of course, being out. The secondary, like if we know Josh Job's not playing, but my goodness, if Armour Davis is down too tonight, that's both starting corners out for Alabama tonight. And that ends up, wow. And that's why I think if that's the case, and even if Armour Davis plays, he's battling that, how bad a hip injury can be. It's significant pain. And you still may want to attack that secondary with the passing game. Hope Bennett's on his game tonight. And that's always the big if, right? With Stetson Bennett. He's had some great games. I thought he was terrific against Michigan, but in the Alabama game, it was not subpar from Bennett. Inaccurate,
2 mistakes,
bad decisions.
Inaccurate. Yeah,
trust me,
he'll be better. I think he'll be better tonight.
Yeah.
It's just, will it be enough? We'll see. This will be, like people said in the chat here, it is a great live betting game because all eyes are on this. So, so if it's low scoring early, you can take the over. There's so much, maybe high scoring, then you take the under. And I look at totals that way when I live bet games. So always, especially a big game, a lot of live betting to be had here. But let's get to the next one, the banner. You want it? Props.
Yeah, definitely. When I'm looking at it in terms of props, this is where I think we've got some good opportunities. I'll start with, what we'll do? We'll do a prop a piece rather than just me rhyming off a bunch of them. I don't want to talk for 10 minutes straight. That was a bad job hosting by me, letting me talk that long at the beginning. But nevertheless, I'll throw out one, and it's the obvious one for me. It's Brock Bowers touchdown plus 110. I think when you look at this for Georgia, he is an indefensible tight end, I think, for a lot of teams. And he's proven to be indefensible even for Alabama. You're looking at a game where he got 139 receiving yards, 1 touchdown in the SEC championship game. Now, the caveat to all that is, well, wait a second now. Nick Saban is like a Bill Belichick, a master of fixing what didn't work the first time. And what didn't work was their defense on the tight end, Brock Bowers, in that game. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of teams try to prepare extra and work overnight and work hard to try to make an adjustment to defend him, and nobody has been able to defend him. It's just been that simple. So I still think there's a solid chance he gets in the end zone. Bennett looks for him in the red. He gets a ton of red zone targets. You're going to see that again tonight. Every time they're inside the 20, inside the 10 especially. Bennett, if he's going to throw the ball, his number one go-to option and look is always Brock Bowers, the tight end for Georgia. He's going to be your next probably George Kittle, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce at the next level. He's going to be a terrific, I think, NFL tight end. Brock Bowers touchdown. Anytime touchdown is probably around plus 110. Some books up to plus 120, but that's right now what you can get with that. Put it this way. There's Jamison Williams of Alabama at minus 125. Brian Robinson, the running back for Alabama, at minus 110, who gashed Cincinnati for 200 rushing yards in the semifinal. I don't love the odds for that. I'd rather have Bowers at plus price, a slight plus price than those two guys, Williams and Robinson for Alabama. I think that's definitely a look for me as the anytime touchdown. You can go receiving yards and receptions as well for Bowers, but I like the touchdown because the one thing is he may not get the volume he did in the SEC title game, but he's still going to be targeted. You can make no mistake about that in the red zone. And all it takes is that one reception in the end zone for this guy. And there's your winning wager on the touchdown prop. Big Ragoo, we'll start with you. One of your props that you like tonight.
Yeah, Bowers, he's got like 15 TDs or something. He's like double everybody else on the squad for scoring TDs. I'm thinking along the lines you are, but here we go again, thinking about how can Georgia kind of not surprise Alabama, but how can they benefit from the defensive, the secondary issues that they're going to have? Well, I'm looking for mismatches. I'm looking for playmakers that will possibly get down the field. And I think Cook kind of plays into that. And I'm looking at Darnell Washington, the 6'8" or 6, I think he's like 6'7". He's a big drink of water. He's kind of like reminds me of Pitts, that used to play for Florida. He's a big cat, and he's got his yardage like 16.5. So I'm thinking, at some point in time where Cook is going to set up some plays, use him as a decoy. I think we're going to see some tight end action, like you said, downfield, for the number one guy. And he's probably like a number 2 or number 3, but I think he'll be involved. I think because of his height and his athletic ability, I think we'll see him downfield to make a couple plays. Now, he doesn't get the ball a whole lot during the game, but I think we'll see he averages like 2 plays a game. But when he touches the ball, he's like up in 15-yard territory. So I think with the weakness of the Bama defensive end, or not defensive end, the Bama secondary, and maybe the middle linebacker playing up with Cook as a decoy, I like to see Darnell Washington over 16.5 yards in this game for Bennett.
All right, there you go. Very good down the board a little bit too with him for in this game. Darnell Washington for the Georgia Bulldogs. Good prop with him. The other two I wanted to mention, and I'll mention them briefly here. Jermaine Burton's the one that I'm kind of in terms of Georgia players down the board that interest me in terms of touchdown. Like his touchdown prop, Jermaine Burton is around plus 275, plus 300. And he has a touchdown in 2 of the last 3 games for the Georgia Bulldogs. It's important to point that out. He has been someone that has been more of a target, more of a proponent, or more of a weapon in the passing game for Bennett. He had 3 catches for 36 yards against Alabama in the SEC championship game. Did not score a touchdown in that game, but again, he had one against Georgia Tech, the final regular season game, and he had one against Michigan in the semifinal win for Georgia. So Jermaine Burton might be one from a touchdown. If you're looking for a little more bang for your buck, a bargain bin type of selection, if you will, on the touchdown score prop market for Georgia, Jermaine Burton at around plus 275, plus 300. That one definitely appeals to me a little bit. Conor Mac, give us a prop you like here tonight.
Real quick, I want to go through right at the end. We'll go through some of maybe the obscure ones if you want, Ian, like I was talking about, maybe the field goal or like overtime. If you want to put small money on it, real quick, both quarterbacks, I'd look at 16.5 for Bennett and 19.5 for Young. Completions I think are good, but I'm going to, with Michie out, Williams was the guy who had the big game last time. They're looking to shut him down. I'm going to take Slade Bolden over 2.5. I think he gets it. You can get it at even money, maybe now minus 110. I got it at even money. I think he gets at least 3 tonight. So that was my main kind of look prop wise. I think they look to shut down Williams, no Michie, Brooks and Bolden. I think could get some, take their yards or receptions tonight.
Hey, can I add a prop in there too?
Yeah.
You're going to go around the table prop by prop, or how are you going to do it?
No, absolutely. Go ahead, Big Reg. Slade Bolden makes sense. Slade Bolden's like a Wes Welker type. He just finds a way to get open, a little slot receiver, and he just finds a way to get lost in coverage. And somehow, opposing pass defenses lose sight of him somehow on the field, and that's how he scores a lot of his touchdowns and how he makes a lot of his receptions. So Slade Bolden, a tricky cover in one-on-one down the field. There's no doubt about that. So, and Bryce Young has definitely had some success working with him in the passing game this year. All right, Big Ragoo, what do you got for us? Another prop.
Hey, since we're talking about tight ends here, I like, we know the 2 is their number 1 I think for goal line. You know, he's a bigger kid, but I like this kid Billingsley from for Bama. I got 2 plays on him. I think he's kind of coming to his own a little bit. I think he's going to be the next guy up scenario for Bama. And like I say, you know, we're looking for scheme plays. We're looking for ways to make plays down the field quickly for the Bama offense. And I think it bodes well for him. He's athletic. He's fast. He's another guy that's only averaging about 2 catches per game. But, you know, there's always that unsung hero that pops up in these big championship games. And I think he's going to be one of those type guys if Bama's going to have success tonight. And you get plus 300 on him on an anytime touchdown. But then you got 17.5 yards also. I think it's like minus 115 for that. So I don't like laying negative numbers and props, but I'm not a big prop guy, but when the big game comes, I'm trying to peel the onion back a little bit. So this is one of those guys that I like a lot. I like Jahleel Billingsley over 17.5 yards, and I like him anytime touchdown plus 300.
All right, a good price on that too, plus a 300. Jahleel Billingsley for the Alabama Crimson Tide, the tight end who has, you know, he has modest numbers, but you know, you figure in a game like this, you know, maybe more of an impact. 2 receptions, 27 yards against Georgia in the SEC championship game. Only the 1 catch for 12 yards against Cincinnati. But keep in mind, Alabama just overpowered Cincinnati with the run game. There was no need to deviate from running the football over and over again in that game against the Bearcats because the Bearcats just couldn't. They were outmanned. Their defensive line was undersized, and Alabama said, we could just get off the block, open up holes for the run game, get chunk plays. Don't have to worry about throwing the football as much. That's exactly what happened against Cincinnati. Here in this game, there will be much more of a focus to throw the football because, look, you're talking about an elite Georgia run defense. It'd be shocking if Brian Robinson's going to rack up 200 yards tonight against this Georgia defense. Probably not going to take the under if I ever saw a prop. Of course, you're not going to see a prop in that range, but nevertheless, yeah, he ain't running for 200 tonight. So there's going to be more passing for Bryce Young because that run game is nowhere near going to be as effective tonight as it was against Cincinnati. Alabama will have to make a lot more of their offense and their production through the air in this game tonight as opposed to on the ground in this one. My question is, and what I'm hoping for with Georgia is they commit to maybe producing more through the air than on the ground, or at least they're going to still run. They will their share of times, no question. But I want to see them throwing on these early downs if Alabama's secondary is possibly going to be as shorthanded as it might be tonight. But, you know, that's where you find good coaching. Like, do something to take advantage of a team's weakness and do something that maybe they're not expecting. Those would be 2 things. Take advantage of the secondary that might be down a couple key starters tonight, and also do something that maybe Saban and the defense are not expecting, and that is them to throw on early downs. I want to see it tonight if I'm Georgia. Let's see if they commit to that. Big Ragoo, anything else on the prop board that you like?
No, just the I was looking at the quarterback yards. You know, I had a couple of leans. I did have a lean with Cook actually, because I think the fact that, you know, with the linebacker play, you know, they're going to be in some zone coverages up and back and stuff. So I think if they used him, like I said, as a pawn to kind of free some of those receivers up for Georgia, I think I kind of hedges under the receiving yards of 43. I think they're going to use him more on the run side versus the under the running yards. I had over 43 yards for rushing for Cook and under 25 yards for passing. So I don't think he's going to catch so many passes. And even if he does, he's not going to have a lot of room downfield because I think it's just going to be more. They're going to be spying him more than not on the pass, but on the run, you know, that might give him. He might catch a running lane here or there, and it's 43 yards. He only had like 28, or I think it was like 30. Was it 38 yards in the first game? And for them to beat Bama, he's going to have to run more than 38 yards to beat Bama in this game. So I know you want him to pass, but they're going to have a good mix. You know, pass first, maybe run later type of thing, but for them to be successful, I think Cook is going to have over 40 yards for them to beat Bama.
Yeah, they have a nice little 1-2 punch going, Georgia at running back. We know with Zamir White and, of course, James Cook. Those have been the guys that have been basically platooning all season long for the Bulldogs run game. They've got a nice little platoon attack. It's not like in past years where they've had to rely on really one guy, Sonny Michel and others that they've had in the past here at this Georgia ground game. So I like that they have the two of them. And you're just going to roll with probably whoever's probably having the more production, yards per carry, who's having more success, churning out those tough yards. And that's what you do. Both of these teams up front, when you run the football against them, they're tough yards to get. You've got to really work hard in between the tackles. You got to keep those the legs driving forward. You got to see if you can survive first contact, stay on your feet, and maybe bounce off for a couple extra yards. That's the kind of running that you want to see from both teams tonight, and they're going to have to because we know how stout they can be up front, both teams.
I think the pass first mentality, then run second. I think that sets it up better for the run play long term for Georgia if they're able to pull that off, like you were saying. I'm thinking along the way you are. I'm thinking early passes, earlier downs passing, and then short yardage plays developing the bigger plays on the run plays for them, if that's how it works.
Now I'm not going to say I'm as smart, no pun intended, as Kirby, but what I would do is first two drives, and even if it doesn't work and give you points on the first drive, you stick with it. Early first down, throw the football. Second down, throw the football. If you get the lead and it succeeds, then you can maybe revert back to a little bit. All right, we'll run early on and then see if we can, shorten and get into it shorter down in distance. But I think early in the game, do something that's going to maybe cause some surprise and something that's unexpected for Alabama, because you're talking about, the most dominant football program in college football for the last, 10, 15 years. You can't be predictable. You got to think outside the box if you're going to finally beat Alabama for the first time in 8 tries now, if you're Georgia tonight. Conor Mac, before we wrap up with best bets and close the show, any final props that you want to recommend?
No, I just wanted to run through a few of these. Like I mentioned, the field goal safety as first score, plus 200, I think is always solid. It happened in their last game. I think it's happened in the last few national championships, some of these big games. One to throw out there, I think I'm right here. You guys correct me, but it's been Miami, Ohio State last overtime in a championship game 20 years ago.
Yep.
21 years ago.
Yep.
Plus 1,000 there. Who knows? We got a tight spread here.
Alabama a few years ago. That was the last.
Oh yeah. So, but plus 1,000 there on OT, little pizza money, beer money, and also on these first player to score. I think some of these are great in the NFL to hit, like Bryce Young, 1,800 to run one in. Holden, you talked about Billingsley, Ragoo, 1,800. All those guys. Some of the bigger numbers like that, 1,200, 1,800. Burton. Maybe look at one of those guys, throw some beer money on it. You can hit the first TD score.
Yep, no doubt. Speaking of overtime props, who had the wherewithal, knowing the situation last night in that Chargers-Raiders game, to bet anywhere from 8 to 12 to 1 odds, that game to go to overtime? If you did, you cashed in with that. That's what it was. Some books had as low as 8 to 1. There were some that were plus 1,200, plus 1,250. It was even 1,500 early in the day at one book as well. So great odds and great
Bavano, if that game would have ended in a tie, the book would have got killed. Do you know how many people had a tie tickets? I was reading it on this morning.
Yeah.
Oh man, I heard it was one of the most popular plays. They had it in parlays. That Raider Charger game to end up in a tie. Oh, wow, that would have been interesting.
Well, knowing the situation, knowing there could have been potential collusion, and I think there might have been potential collusion if Brandon Staley doesn't call a timeout.
I don't know.
30, 40 seconds left. The Raiders like still run the Raiders that were looking to just content with just running the clock out and getting the tie. It looked that way initially.
It looked that way, but they still would have ran and kicked a long field goal. It looked like, but yeah, why would you want to go to Kansas City though?
Yeah.
I mean, if I were the Raiders, I would have done the same thing. But yeah, the way they sounded like it, I don't know if they're playing games. Who knows in these post-game interviews with Derek? So, but it very interesting with that timeout. Wow, it's crazy, wild game, but great one last night.
Yeah, unless he's telling a fib, all you can do is go by what Derek Carr said with Michelle Tafoya there after the game on NBC. And what he said was the timeout changed our thinking. And then we decided, we'll run a play. If we get a first down, kick the field goal. So it's like, and if you're Staley, you're going to have nightmares all season thinking, should I have called the timeout? Should I have not?
He's brought about
should I have not
more than
gone
that,
for
but
it on
he's
4th
got
and 1
20 of
inside
those.
your own 20.
Yeah, he's got probably 100 plays he's thinking about all offseason. Idiot.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. That's the problem now. It's gotten carried away with the 4th down stuff. I like the aggressive mindset and the attitude, especially inside opponent territory. But at some point, you just got to realize live for another day or another possession or a series. That 4th and 1 inside that's too risky at that point. It is. I mean, I know it was a yard. You got to have faith in your run game and a big, powerful bruising back like Eckler, to pick up a yard. But, that's why if rolling the dice there sometimes isn't worth it. I mean, man,
that team is smitten, man. That damn Charger team.
Yeah. I mean, how many times, Big Ragoo? I mean, certainly you've been around a long time. How many times do we have to see the Chargers lose a big game or
the Chargers are the new Cleveland what was it? Cleveland every time they used to play Denver, they used to, what's his name? The guy that fumbled at the goal line that one game years ago. I mean, they were bitten, and Cleveland's still bitten today.
Byers or who was it? The running back,
Ohio State kid,
Yeah, I mean they are. They're turning into in terms of they can't outwin a big time football game right now. The LH. It was like that with Phillip Rivers. They got to a certain level and they just couldn't get over the hump with him. I mean, there's just been so many crushing losses. Marty Schottenheimer, year after year when he coached the Chargers, it was great regular seasons, 11 win, 12 win, 13 win seasons, and then just never do a damn thing in the postseason, in the playoffs. That's the life of an LA Chargers fan, or of course, formerly San Diego Chargers fan. Going back, I'm old enough. I remember the San Diego Chargers.
Paco Healy.
Yeah,
I know they're Charger fans.
Yeah, I know. So heart goes out to all the Chargers fans. It's a hard try.
I don't feel sorry for them. Raiders, baby, winning money line.
And Ski Profit too.
Speaking of Vegas, our tight end, he's from your town. Our guy, the guy we got the prop on for plus 300, he's a Vegas. He's a Las Vegas kid.
That's right. Yeah.
So
you're 100% correct there, Big Ragoo, no doubt. And the Ski Profit too, big Charger fan. I'll see him later today when we do the NBA Pub Up. Reminder, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then after that, Conor Mac and Maxwell Smart, Net Profit College Basketball at 5 p.m. Eastern. So basketball shows back to back later this afternoon here on Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you join us for that. Great stuff with Big Ragoo and with Conor Mac. Fun discussion, side, total, props, analyzed all of it. Now it's time to just play the game at this point tonight. Alabama, Georgia for the national championship. Everybody that's watching right now, 120 live viewers, we appreciate all of you. Hit the like button. Make sure you do that on the way out if you haven't done so already. We will wrap up the show with our national championship game best bets coming up right after this. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Southtown 101 in San Antonio. Manscaped, promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase. Lawnmower 4.0 or any Manscaped product, get 20% off with promo code PubSports. And MyBookie.ag, promo code PubSports. NFL playoffs starting this weekend. Can't wait for that. National championship game tonight. Tons of NBA, college basketball, and NHL as well. UFC starts back up for the new year this weekend as well. Lots to keep you interested from a betting
Talking Hands, the big UFC show coming back. Check it out on this channel. Our whole UFC guys, a whole show with all of them on there. They do the live betting. Whole show. Talking Hands will be back. Just a little shout out there for them.
Absolutely. Plug it, because UFC is a big part of the channel here, and definitely MMA. Our content is, I'll put our MMA content, especially those live fight casts, above anything else you can find on the internet. It's that good. They make you money. It's entertaining. The reactions, you know how fun it is to watch Rogan and Anik and all those guys react to a finish in a UFC fight in the broadcast. Don't you dare look past our Pub Sports crew when their reactions to a big knockout in a UFC fight. And you can find that on the live fight casts for UFC over the weekend as well. So make sure you check Diehard MMA.
Clint's on tonight too. Yeah, yep. He's on tonight.
Yeah, Clint.
And Clint, you talk about a guy that studies MMA and UFC morning, noon, and night. That's Clint McLean. That's Diehard MMA right here on Pub Sports Radio. It returns tonight, so check that out as well. But anyway, back to mybookie.ag. Sign up for an account. Do it. Bitcoin accepted currency for your deposit as well. Mybookie.ag, promo code PubSports. All right, it's time for best bets for the national championship game. Conor Mac, start with yours. It could be a side, could be the total, could be a prop. What do you like for best bet?
Well, I told you earlier, I took Bama, the +3. I have a money line as well. But I thought this was the best bet. That's why you gave it prop-wise. We went around with our first one. It was Bolden. Slade Bolden at even money. Try to find that. I don't know if you can still get it around there. Over 2.5 receptions. No Michi. I think they kind of want to shut down Williams. I mean, he ripped him last time for 175. He gets over 2.5 tonight for sure. So Slade Bolden over 2.5 receptions tonight. Best bet.
There you go. Slade Bolden over 2.5 receptions. Best bet for Conor Mac. Player prop best bet for the national title game. Sharpie in the chat. Welcome in. He likes Robinson for Alabama over 17.5 receiving yards in this game tonight. Thinking he'll be catching the ball a little bit here for the
shout out Sharpie,
which might be the case. Good luck with
Sharpie. Will
be
interesting. He only had 55 yards in that last game. We talked about them not running because Young threw for 420. Does he run more tonight? Maybe that under 69 is a look again with Robinson. Because like you said, Babano, they're not going to run it like they did against Cincy.
No.
Where he had 30 carries for whatever, he had a ton of yards. So we'll see. I just can't wait to watch the game.
It will be.
Cut me off.
No, I was just going to say, no, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a phenomenal game, and we're looking forward to it with these two teams. Two best teams all year are in the national championship game. That's the way you want it. All right, Big Ragoo, what do you got for us? It's best bet time.
Yeah, no messy there. All those player props are going to be fire for Bama on the pass, I think, especially the guys that are getting the short yardage situation like that. Those are solid plays. I like those. Man, I got to go with the GOAT of all time, the guy on the sidelines, getting plus money on that number. Even though Georgia's a fire team, I got to be the man. You got to beat the man. Woo! Like Ric Flair says, give me the plus 125 for my money tonight. Even though my best bets haven't been stellar on the show all season long, tonight we go out in style. We go out with a big W. Give me plus 125, Bama.
There you go, Alabama plus 125 for Big Ragoo, his best bet for the national championship game. Mine's going to be that Brock Bowers, the tight end for Georgia, touchdown prop, plus 110, plus 120. Think he's just tough to defend. And I know Alabama will put in some extra emphasis on slowing him down, shutting him down, but he's going to get his targets in the red zone and find somehow, some way that guy is just, you can't defend him. He runs great routes. He finds ways to get open. And when the ball's thrown to him, he doesn't really drop any ever. He's got some really terrific hands as well. And I think he finds the end zone again tonight, just like he did against Alabama in the SEC championship game. So Brock Bowers, tight end for Georgia, anytime touchdown. You can get plus 110 to plus 120 in that range with that. That'll be my best bet here for the national championship game. And with that, it's a wrap on the show. It's a wrap on the college football season. It's a wrap for us as a team, as a crew, delivering the shows for you for college football and Pub Sports Radio. But we're hoping to be back right here on this channel. August, September will be here before you know it. It'll be college football once again. But it's been great to work with Conor, with Big Ragoo, and of course DJ Big Boss couldn't be here today.
Shout out to Big
Great
Boss.
To have him. Shout out to DJ Big Boss for sure. Great stuff. Thanks to everybody for watching. Hit the like button on the way out for Conor Mac and Big Ragoo. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the national championship game. Cash some tickets. Enjoy the game, and good luck. And thanks for watching the national championship preview show right here on Pub Sports Radio.